Hello and welcome to my online drum course. This is lesson 1. So, the beginnings of lesson 1 is going to be split into a few different sections. But to begin with, we're going to have a look at the drum kit or the drum set, which is what we're learning to play. Okay, so as I say, this is aimed at complete beginners, so people that haven't even seen a drum kit will know what it is. But it's very key when learning the drums to know what everything is, because it can be quite overwhelming initially when you first sit down and you're just like, what the hell is all this stuff in front of me? So let's have a look at each thing individually. So let's begin with the drums. So the drums are these 4 pieces that I have. You can have more or less, but these are the drums. So a drum is usually made out of wood, sometimes metal, and is a kind of cylinder shape, which is wood is wrapped around in the cylinder, and then we've got drum heads, which are on the top and the bottom. Okay, and then when we hit the drum head, it moves the air inside the drum and creates the sound. So let's have a look at the drums first. So this guy here, which is one of the main things that we'll play, is called the snare drum. Okay, so this has snares on the bottom, which are metal strands that attach to the bottom and give it a slightly different sound to the other drums which don't have snares on. Okay, so this is the snare drum, and it will sound a bit like this. Okay, that's the snare drum. And it's got quite a high-pitched register, but as I say, it's one of the main drums we'll be using. Next we're on to this one here, which is our first tom, or rack tom, or tom. But these are called the toms. So I've got 2 of these. What I'm going to be calling them in this is the rack tom, which is here, and this is the floor tom. So the rack tom is usually smaller than the floor tom. This is quite a large rack tom. This is a 14-inch rack tom. Generally they range from 8 inches to 14, but you can really have any size rack tom you like. And then this floor tom here, which is called a floor tom because it sits on the floor on some legs, and this is a 16. So we've got a 14 and a 16. So this is tuned slightly higher than this. Usually the diameter of a drum equates to its pitch. We're not dealing with like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We're dealing more in frequency, but you can pitch drums, you can tune drums to pitch, but generally they are kind of not really pitched, so we're tuning them to how we like. So yeah, generally a rack tom is going to be tuned higher than a floor tom just because of the size. 14, 16, it's going to sound, a 16 is going to sound lower register than a 14. So let's hear these. This is the rack tom. Rack tom and then floor tom. Okay, so there you go. And then the biggest drum, which is this guy, the kick drum or the bass drum, which we play with our foot. depending whether you're right-handed or left-handed. But I'm right-handed, so I'm playing it with my right foot. Okay, so let's hear what this guy sounds like. Okay, so obviously the bass drum is your lowest registered tom because it's big. It's going to be the biggest drum that you play pretty much every time. This guy is very big. This is a 24. So this is quite a big. These are quite big drums, but you can get all different sizes of drums. So those are our drums: snare, rack tom, floor tom, kick drum. Okay, now we're on to the cymbals. So let's start at the top first. These two cymbals here are called crash cymbals. Okay, so we use them a lot to accent certain things, but they are our largest accenting cymbals. Not the largest cymbals, but they are probably the loudest generally. So we've got two, sometimes you might only have one crash. Here I've got two crashes set up. Then we've got our ride cymbal, which is the largest sized cymbal on this kit, not always. And then over here we've got our hi-hat, which is again played with our foot and a pedal. So, because I'm right-handed, I'm playing it with my left foot. Okay, so, and this hi-hat, yeah, so we play it with our foot, is two cymbals instead of one, and playing it with the foot we're enabled to open and close that. So the cymbals are the highest register. Oh, there's also this cymbal over here, which is kind of an effects cymbal. So it's basically another crash, but it's actually two crashes put together. But that's just an effect cymbal, so that's essentially nothing to worry about, but really just another crash. So yeah, these are our high-pitched frequencies down to the lowest pitch, which is the bass drum. Now, it's a lot to remember to begin with, but to start off with, the three things that we're going to be looking at the most are the hi-hat, the snare drum, and the bass drum. So these three things are what we're going to be focusing on mostly to begin with in this beginner course, because we will look at the other stuff, but it can be quite overwhelming. Like I said, you've sat in front of all these different things, but essentially there are these three here that are kind of our core of the drum kit, which initially we'll be looking at.